guys, welcome to our total and final review for Arcane Season 2. This is the Act 3 summary. As you can tell, Joe is back. We've made Joe watch all 9 episodes, right? In pretty much, super speed fashion. So we've got the complete opinion on whether we think that in Act 3, Arcane nailed the landing, stuck the landing there, and then we can talk, a little bit on the whole, how we feel like the whole series is, as opposed to the different acts. So, obviously, after seeing these next 3 episodes, Act 3, wow, to me, does it stick the landing? Yes, I think it sticks the landing. However, I think some things shift a little bit, and it's not perfect. And as comparison to Season 1, I don't think it lands quite as hard, impactful, emotional, a lot of gravity and tension as Season 1 did. However, I do think it is a good ending. I watched each episode 2 times. And I gotta say, I've rewatched a lot of the episodes in Season 1 and Season 2. I'm finding that Arcane is such a rich experience that when you rewatch something, I get so much more context the second time around. And this is both a positive and a negative because it feels like the show is kind of rushing through some of the plot lines, which would be kind of my major criticism of it. But upon rewatching a little bit of that, feels taken care of, feels a little lessened. Now, obviously, endings are notoriously tough to make. I mean, all you got to look at is recent things, Game of Thrones and some of these endings that have really fucked up with fans. And with something as popular as Arcane, you're going to have people. I've already actually seen a split online.
It's very
divisive,
think yeah.
A little divisive. I think some people a little disappointed with the ending. Some people were like, "You're fucking crazy. You're media illiterate. It's the greatest ending ever." And I was like, "Wow, okay." But I just think that the incredibly high bar that this series sets with the animation, with the characters, the writing is so good, the action is so good. And so in Act 3, we get multiple battles, including probably the best, most hyped fucking battle that the series has ever seen at the end, which is the culmination of everything. I really, really liked. And so, aside from a few things, a few subplots that I felt it kind of took away from the overall momentum, like Black Rose and things like that, I was surprised at how goated Echo ends up being. Because in the previous 2 acts, not really a factor, really. And then here, this boy comes in, true boy savior.
Yeah, because sometimes I forget about him. I was like, okay, well, now he's a major character.
Yeah, and whereas I was like, man, this Heimerdinger Echo stuff is not really resonating, it does. In Act 3, it really pays off. Yeah. Now, more so for one than the other, and we'll talk about that in a bit. But I just felt like maybe the one more episode, maybe 10 episodes.
I agree.
I mean, I think there's enough for a whole 3rd season, but let's say that they're spending a lot of money, and in order to get this to the next height, I think maybe one more episode would have been, because I think some of the villain turns and some of the sub stories kind of it goes a little fast, especially Victor's transformation from I want to help everybody, I've got a coven, and I won't even hurt Warwick and the blood. He has moral issues with it all, and wanting to help humanity, to turning what he turns into at the end, where it's just absolute pure villain stuff. But ultimately, I do think it sticks the landing with some caveats that we can talk about in our breakdown. Yeah. And then ultimately at the end, I think almost every single character, with the exceptions of a few, get a satisfying sort of character arc. Now, initially, when I see the conclusion of one person's story, I was pissed off. I was like, I don't know what's going on. I don't like this. It's far less impactful the second time. I'm talking about Jinx. However, when I rewatch the episode and then I start watching some YouTube videos on theories and theory crafting, I'm like, okay, now I totally get it. Now, it's not completely spelt out for people and audiences at the end. And I think we should speak to that it may just kind of rush over people or go over people's heads or not be as fleshed out as, an audience would be. I enjoy happy endings. I wish we would get more happy endings in media. This is not necessarily that. However, there is some cool little teasers that make me think that they want to do season 3, but they told us they're not doing season 3 and they're moving on to other stories within League. But whereas I thought these other stories would be wildly different, I'm starting to believe no. These other stories in League is essentially a season 3 with a lot of the characters dropped, maybe new characters, and then some of these maybe get plugged in as cameos that may fit into whatever they have next. And we do need to talk about that. So that's my overall opinion on a season 2, act 3, and the conclusion. What did you guys think?
I really like this season. It's very good, but I agree with you. I think one more episode could have really helped it out. Some of the turns and the very last, which
we'll try our best to do no spoilers.
Yeah,
and then right at the end we'll do a bunch of spoilers.
Yeah, the very end, I feel like it was resolved a little bit too quickly. Definitely would have helped it had a little two-parter for the ending conclusion and stuff. But I love the animation's so good. I fucking love it. The voice acting's great. Mm-hmm. I love the soundtrack. It just everything kind of fits. But a couple things like y'all did mention the about faces and the resolution ending too quickly.
I felt like they moved away from this Piltover Zune, the two cities, that kind of being the emotional core and trying to deal with that to Victor and Jace.
Yeah,
that just takes everything over.
Yes,
and some of the Noxia stuff, Noxus stuff that comes into play, and I'm like, okay, if you want to do that, then in that Act 2 they start to introduce. Oh yeah, the show's called Arcane, so we have to do some mentions of Arcane, but it's not fleshed out.
No.
Same thing with Wild Runes. I have no idea what's going on with Wild Runes. Maybe Alex in the lore can tell me in the video game. Again, not really kind of expanded or it's kind of confusing stuff is what I'm saying.
Oh, yeah. Because I felt that way as well. I was like, wait, did I miss something? I don't know what's going on. It's like, maybe.
So Joe went through the same thing. Yeah, there's times where we were watching through those first 6 episodes where it's like, did I actually skip something?
Yeah.
I had to go back and rewatch it. I said, no, I didn't skip anything. It just like goes fast.
Yeah, I was like, okay, let's slow it down a bit.
Or it just assumes that you know.
Yeah, but I was like, let's slow it down a bit. Let's give it some time to breathe. But then I was like, oh, it's over. Oh, okay. Well, it's still a great time.
I think what was some of those song montages were meant to be like days and months passing. And
Yeah. I'm massively disappointed. And it's a good piece of media. I actually really like the season 2, but I'm massively disappointed. I think
it did not stick the landing for you.
No, this is a giant missed opportunity, and it reeks of someone saying, "Well, we have a 3-season story," and they're like, "Well, we don't have enough money for it, and so you need to compact it." We left off after Act 2 with this major moment where a character death happens at the end of Act 2, and it's never talked about ever again.
Exactly.
There's someone unlikely allies happen in the final episode with no pomp, you could have an entire season on should we help this person, this group of people that have been how do we like justify helping these people, risking our own lives to make this stuff happen? And they just kind of speed run through it, and I was not satisfied. And again, I don't want you to think that I don't like this, because I do think that season 2 of Arcane is still excellent television. something is off. And I watched season 1 again, and it takes its time, and it relishes in its character moments. And every time there's an opportunity for them to have emotional things hit emotionally, they take advantage. And I didn't feel that way. Now, there's some emotional highs here. There's still parts where you're like, oh, I didn't feel that coming, or it gets me right here.
Yeah,
it just
to what you're kind of referencing. That was an emotional moment.
Yeah, there are times where it just sprints through some of this stuff. And again, there are 10-minute segments in some of these episodes that could have been 4 episodes in Arcane season 1, where we could have really like gone through all this stuff. Yeah. And I just don't know if they ran out of money. I don't know if this is. I mean, maybe this is what they really wanted to do, but it felt like
the writers have said they had an ending that they had in mind, and this is it. But this idea that 9 episodes to do it. I think 10 to 12, and we would have done better.
Condensed.
Yeah, or I do think that they wanted 3 seasons. I personally think they wanted 3 full seasons, and because I think that's what you needed.
Because an expensive show, $250 million. They're like, wait, you want another $100 million to do a third? Nah.
Yeah.
You gotta. Yeah. There are definitely things that I've read that Netflix has pushed back on. That sex scene in the prison, for me, didn't work. Comes out of nowhere. In fact, Vi should be looking for her sister. If her sister's like, I got to break the cycle, and she just leaves. And it's like, you need to go and follow your sister to make sure that she doesn't, I don't know, hurt herself or do something. And instead you're having sex, in a prison. I don't know about that. However, in interviews they said Netflix slapped us on the wrist there and made us dial it back because it was a lot more egregious, or not egregious, but a lot more revealing there. And Netflix said no. So to me, that's a small window, and that Netflix is every once in a while saying no, can't do that. Either I don't know. Well, to be honest, I don't know if it was like League of Legends, Riot saying no, or if it was Netflix. I'm assuming Netflix. And if I assume Netflix, then that means, season 3, bro, we already spent $250 million. I can't give you a season 3.
I can't wait another 3 years.
You need to wrap it up now. Yeah, so I can feel that.
Yeah, so I want to reiterate, I liked season 2. I do think it's a step down from season 1 because I think season 1 was is absolutely excellent start to finish. This one just something felt off, and it still ended in a good spot. I'm more or less happy with how some of the things ended. Yeah. But your expectations start to raise when someone starts doing a really, really good job with an amazing IP, and I just don't think that they nailed the landing.
Okay, well, let's actually go ahead and jump into our Act 3 scores. That way we can start to do the individual breakdowns and talk more in depth, because it's easier to give our opinions when we're not restricted with spoilers. So let me get an Act 3 specifically a score. Joe, since you haven't seen, let me get an Act 1 and an Act 2 if you can even do it.
Yeah, all the way to 6. I would probably give it an 8. It really left off like, oh shit, this is like, it was pretty crazy, like what happened and the final act, and all of a sudden, so 8 on that one.
On Act and 2?
Act 1 and 2.
Act 1 and 2 together.
Yes, together.
8. Okay.
Yes. And then after that, that's when it's like, wait, did I miss something? Or like, what's going on? Are we not talking about the little girl?
Isha.
Yeah, we're not talking about that. She's like, yeah, she kind of has her little moment in the jail cell, but after that, like, it wasn't really
addressed.
Again, rushed. Like I said at the beginning, there's several character deaths.
Yeah, after that, just felt like it just really ramped up the pace and everything. Everything was going like a mile a minute. And like I said, I thought I forgot some stuff. I had to go back. I was like, wait, is this the right episode? Am I watching the same thing? It's like, wait, when did this happen? It was just like a little too much right now.
Overall for Act 3.
I'll probably round up a little bit, but
round up, of course.
Yeah, it's like a 7 something, but I'll round up 8.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm stuck between a 7 and an 8. I think that it finished stronger. I actually liked there's like a flashback sequence, and there's some really interesting things. The problem that I have with it is, other than like kind of figuring out how motivated a character is, it felt a little. You're constantly like, hey, I like this. I understand like this is important for this character. But if I only have 3 episodes left and we're already sprinting through things, I felt like we're eating up a lot of time with some of that stuff. I think I'll also go with an 8 overall with Act 3. Some really good emotional moments, but I think it's going to lose 3 points because I feel like we're sprinting through stuff that you shouldn't sprint through. And as the consumer, I don't care that they spent $250 million. I don't care that they didn't have $100 million. I don't care about any of that stuff. It's like when I'm looking on my TV and I'm not thinking about like how much Netflix or Riot is paying or not paying. It's like, look, you set out on this production, and if you ran out of money and you can't do season 3 and you crammed it together, which is what it feels like to me, then you got to lose 2 points.
I expected a little harsher score because I am also at an 8 out of 10, and I thought at points I could go 9, but I was like, no, there's just too many things here left unresolved in this. If this truly is the end, which makes me sad, and I desire more, and I say, you guys are making a mistake, please, don't end it here. I'm going to go with an 8 out of 10. So consensus, ultimately an 8 out of 10 for me kind of sticks, is satisfying, it's a great show, but there's some flaws there.
Yeah, I was
and
like
when
a
you
7 or
consider we gave the other one a 10, and you're going from a 10 to an 8,
you feel
and
it.
this
you
has
feel
the potential of
yes.
a 10. So
yes.
that loss of 2 points is what we're mourning here, because we see there's passion, there's love, there's creativity, there's care, and you don't see this very often in animation anymore. I feel like this whole fucking thing pushed animation into a greater area, especially on Netflix. Netflix has had good animations, Witcher, Castlevania, but animation on a whole has been pushed to the forefront, showing that you can tell amazing, well-told stories. And I think this is one.
Yes.
I just think that Act 2 is a little bit, because the scope is so much bigger and there's so many different character subplots, and you have to bring them all together, it's a little less tight, a little less impactful than the season 1, where it was between these cities as a greater stage and then ultimately a family at the emotional core. Here, it's still family, but it's family between Melon and Bessa. It's family between, V and Jinx, and then it's Heimerdinger and Echo, and so you have all this, and then Victor and Jace ultimately starts dominating the whole thing, and all these other characters are plugged in interesting ways, and then an amazing finale, which I really appreciated, and then it's like, oh, you left it a little too ambiguous. I don't know if I like it. I think I hated it at first with the Jinx thing, but then I'm slowly liking it more and more as people kind of interpret, and so as long as they pay it off in the future, but still I have to give it a rating right now. So that's why I think an 8 out of 10 on Act 3.
Yeah.
Now, if you ask me, if you combine, and I think I'm going to go 8 out of 10 on Season 2 as a whole. So let me get your as a whole for season 2, Act 1, 2, and 3 all together.
Yeah,
Mine's
I agree
an 8
with
out
that.
of 10.
Yeah, I agree with that.
8
8 out of 10. This one kind of dipped, the last
I might
third
be
act
willing to
kind
go
of-
to 9. We'll talk
I
about
was
it
at
in
a 7 or 8,
spoilers.
but I'm going to go with an 8.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm feeling 7 overall for the whole season.
So that's where, that's
Yeah.
where it kind of dips for you.
Yeah, I actually do like the last 3 episodes. There was some, but looking at the whole season, looking at the pacing of everything and how everything
That's the
flowed
big
through,
one.
and everything comes. So it didn't. That's what I meant when it didn't quite stick the landing, and that's where I'm going to get it in the score.
Okay, 7 for season 2. I'm gonna go. I'll stick at 8 for season 2. Now, if you present to me Arcane, here's the kicker here, because I'm giving you a grade on a curve. You asked me, what do you think of Arcane? 10 out of 10 still. Season 1, 10 out of 10. Yeah, the second doesn't end, but when you put them all together and you look at everything from over, it's still a 10 out of 10. So that's what my rating is. All right, so we can go into the individual kind of episodes. We could talk a little bit about some of the spoilers now, stuff that worked, stuff that didn't work, that maybe have held it back a little bit. So I'll jump in here. I feel like some of the disappointing stuff, the Piltover and the Zion, the cities, again, there's just not a good resolution to that. It's almost, it had like maybe 2 minutes in the final episode where Jace is giving a speech. I need all help, all available fighters, and the is it Zune or Zion? Zon, like, nah, fuck this, we're out of here, right? Everybody starts leaving, and then as they're leaving and they're thinking about it, then they come back. and then everybody puts on Piltover, armor and stuff. I would have appreciated, that done.
A mixture or something?
A mixture in a
Yes.
different way to show the cooperation.
Unity or something.
Unity, but no, I guess Zahn just does Piltover shit, but okay. And then the Victor. He's evil now. His transition to full villain felt way too fast for me. An extra episode could have helped with that. I don't need a whole season, but an episode. He was like I said, concerned with helping the people, the sick, and then he loses faith in humanity completely. Because why? Because Jay shot him? Like, why does he go, nope, human cannot have a choice? Like, what? This just Jace. What about everybody else? It's like, And Jace only did that because you told him to.
Yeah. I mean, Victor's whole thing is he's trying to use suffering of all the people like himself who he viewed as damaged. And so he does the AI trope. It's like the only way I can protect humanity is if I take away humanity's humanity and I control everyone.
He had all these support systems, including Sky in his head, which apparently was not a sinister force that was misleading, but was actually Sky. And then when he's like, I'm going to make my final evolution, I'm going to miss our conversations. Even Sky's like, no, you're not. And she was right. And then she dissipates, and then he becomes this otherworldly thing where he's just one minded in getting all humanity under his control, so that there would be no suffering, so that there would be no fighting. But ultimately, you do that, and it doesn't work out. Now, I will say, one character was redeemed for me, Mel. Mel in season 1, I wasn't really that interested in. She's doing the political machinations behind the scenes, leading Jace, doing this, and her mom shows up at the very end. But in season 2, I think that Mel as a mage much better. Interesting. Aside from the Black Rose stuff, which I feel is purely set up for a season 3 that we may or may never get. You know what I mean? It's like, why we do all that with LeBlanc and some Swain teases. You never really see LeBlanc, which is okay because her whole thing is you never really see her. And then Swain, you see his crows, though, actually, stealing the Hex Tech technology and implying that in the future. That's why I think there will be a season 3, but I guess they're going to call it something else.
And it won't be Fortiche animation anymore.
See, that would bother me quite a bit. It needs to be Fortiche animation.
They've already announced it's not, though.
They announced it?
Yeah, we did a whole news story on it. They're not doing it. If there's any other league stuff, it won't be them.
I thought that pertained to like a different division. Okay, well,
I hope I'm wrong.
I hope you're wrong.
Yeah.
All right, so yeah,
We'll
and
see.
then. But and I wonder if she's going to be the next champion League of Legends. I looked it up. She is. She's going to be the first one in 2025. So her mother gets in there at the end. You get to play as Mbessa, and then the next one is.
Then they're going to come up with the expensive ass skin so they can continue making it.
Jinx.
So, hey,
Well, she'll also be. I mean,
don't buy that shit.
She will be OP for the first 3 weeks. They'll have an exclusive skin that also gives you a little bit of an advantage. They'll apologize after they cash your checks, and then because that's what Riot does.
Oh, we're sorry.
Yeah, and so ultimately, I think forgiveness is kind of the main theme of the show.
Yeah.
And whether you
gotta break the cycle.
You can do fucked up shit, but you can still be forgiven. And then in that sense, we got to talk about the big spoiler: is Jinx dies. The reason why my rating goes down a little bit is when you're doing that. No, she doesn't. Ultimately, I believe she's not dead. Now, there's several pieces of evidence for this, and I'll get to it in a second. But doing her death so quickly after, not quickly because it's 3 episodes later, but Isha's death was so much more emotional and impactful for me. I felt it. I was like, I was tearing up. I was like, oh shit. I like the little cutaway when they're flying and they're learning that she became a Vi to a little kid herself, like Powder and her.
But then after
we've seen this too much already. We've already seen, they're like, oh, you're on a cliff. You're on the fucking edge. Get away from the edge. You dumb fuck. And Vi does something ridiculously stupid. This Vander, who is clearly not Vander. I don't even know if he's Warwick anymore because this is so far removed from the actual Warwick, at least this version. She could clearly tell he's not in there anymore. But okay, I get it. I'll give you that Vi still thinks that maybe she can save Warwick. But by doing that, she sets herself up for failure. Jinx has to fucking save her, slam into Warwick, and knock them off. And then, she's holding on but Warwick's holding on to her, so she has to let go. And I was like, I knew this was coming. It's like, but I didn't feel anything. When she fell, I'm like, this is Jinx. Like, one of my favorite characters now. The heart of the show.
It's like, you already got my tears, man.
And like,
Stop.
it just didn't work, right? She pulls out that grenade. And I'm like, okay, so if they want people to believe that and some people believe it, fine. She's not dead. Because you do see in the explosion, you rewind it, you see a pink, basically the shimmer glimmer that she does from her eyes. Whenever she moves super fast, you see that fire off. And it looks like it's going in the direction of these air vents and these tubes. Later on, Caitlin is kind of looking in a montage,
exactly
and she's like, And then she finds these air tubes. Yeah. So it's implied that Caitlin knows that Jinx is alive, but she's not going to tell V because she knows that Jinx did that on purpose. It's the whole breaking of the cycle. V fights harder, and they made a point of this in episode 7 when V dies. V fights harder when she has something to fight for, right? And she's always going to fight for her sister, and her sister feels she's not worthy of that. At first, she wants to kill herself, Jinx, which I thought was a cool scene where Echo comes, she kills herself, and Echo's like, "Stop it!" Rewind time. And then, so she doesn't kill herself. She ultimately shows up in the most hype moment on her fucking balloon and starts firing, and that's a badass moment. And so she decides to be the hero at that moment, but she also has made some kind of promise to herself, like, I got to separate myself from my sister's life. Otherwise, it's just like this endless cycle. So I'm breaking the cycle. I'm letting her be happy with Kayla. At least she's convinced herself of this. Obviously, V would be happier with her sister, but she's convinced herself to stay away and let them be happy as a couple. And I believe that she is on that airship that you see at the very end, because at the very beginning of this whole fucking series, Powder as a little kid sees the airships. He goes, one day I'm going to fly one of those. And then at the end, you see her flying off. And then very end, it says the end, and it's written in Jinx's handwriting. So supposedly, this is that you're looking at Jinx. She's saying the end for now and flies off. So Jinx is alive. And when I first saw it, I was like, what the fuck? And then when I see all these little bits and pieces, I'm like, all right, makes sense. It goes with the theme.
Don't see a body, and then she's like, oh, air duct. It's always an air duct.
That allows Jinx to continue doing her independent thing, not always attached to Violet. And so I enjoyed it more, and my rating was like slowly going up for that last episode, because I think the last episode really, really helps. But I'm jumping ahead a little bit just to kind of make those points. But episode 7, what did you guys think of this one? This was the Echo and Powder episode, with this kind of budding love story where he realized he gave up on that a long time ago. But now that he's in this alternate universe with Heimerdinger, it's this whole story. What did y'all think of that episode?
It was pretty good. I love seeing that Echo is so ride or die about his own universe that he's willing to leave the universe that has everything that he ever wanted, right? Ooh. And so it's like Hextech isn't invented, his surrogate father is alive, he's in a relationship with Powder, everything's going really good, and he's like, he knows that he's got to go back and finish this stuff anyway. I just kind of wish we would have gotten more scenes about that too. And then we kind of spent a long time doing this. It's hard to not look at your watch when you're getting close to the ending of a television show and going, oh man, I know that these are only 40-minute, sometimes 50-minute episodes. We don't have a whole lot of time. But it was a beautiful episode on its own. And so it was really nice to see, kind of the Elseworld situation of how things work out.
Powder's more like a Vi character. She's like a cross, her design.
Absolutely, and this could have been one of my favorite episodes if this was a 12-episode series, or if this was season 2 of a 3-season thing, but it's not. And so it's like in a vacuum, love it. In the context of the season, we're wasting fucking time because we're going to sprint through the finale. And
initially I had deducted some points because at first I didn't like it much, the Echo and Jinx part, but upon seeing episodes 8 and 9, I liked it more. One part that didn't improve for me, that I didn't like in the first place, was the J stuff. And the Jay stuff, I just think, was wasting time. Like, we knew Jace was already crazy. We knew he had seen some fucked up shit. And that's we waste like half of the episode on him seeing fucked up shit going nowhere. He falls in a hole. He breaks his leg. The hammer falls on his leg. Then he crawls out. There was a moment where I was like, what the fuck? Like he when his leg's fine, he attempts to climb out of it, doesn't climb out of it. Later on, he puts a splint on his leg. It's weeks later when he's weak after drinking rancid water and eating insects and emaciated. That's when he decides to crawl out, and he's successful all of a sudden? Okay. Well, he's successful, and I guess the real Victor was making him do all this because there is the mage there that's looking at him. And later on, he meets up with his mage. And, it's a fucked up. Now, it's not shown until later in a separate episode that is ultimately Victor telling him, to go back and stop this other Victor and make me realize.
This is a segment that could have been an email. I mean, they spent,
They spent so much time on this.
And, like, him going down to he could have gone and saw he can just walk through the town and see everyone dead.
Cut it in half.
Show kids and show everything in the street and, like, everything is destroyed and show the absolute horror of his failure.
Yeah.
And you probably get every single bit of, what you're supposed to get out of it. It's just like we're wasting time.
Yeah, and then we get the little cool little dance sequence. I hate it when animation goes 2 frames per second. That's my thing, but I still appreciated it and I liked it. It's seeing Jinx happy made me happy. And then later on in episode 9 and 8, it gave that more context where Echo's like, I'm fighting for my universe, but at least in some universe, I will be happy because, again, when he leaves, he swats spots. So that relationship will continue on. Now, there might be teases that, they show the Happy Jinx opening the thing, and there's Hex Tech there. So maybe if she's really, really curious or wants to find her sister, she could find a way to use the Hex Tech to come into their universe. But if there's an Echo there that he swaps spots, I think no, they just stay together and they sit on that ledge together, watch the fireworks, and that's a wonderful thing. And Echo has that he can at least cherish that. There's that.
Just someone else gets to live the life that he wants to be living.
Yeah, it sucks, but that man is goated. Without Echo, none of this shit works.
Yeah, so he used his ult like 40 times in a minute, so he's cheating of some
Yeah, the Z drive. It was cool seeing the Z drive. Where did we get the explanation? Oh, I came up with it in a dream. I messed around with Jace's things.
It was all a dream.
I wanted a little different explanation, but okay, fine. Anyways, a lot of people don't realize how intelligent Jinx and Echo actually are. They're damn near close to Heimerdinger levels, maybe on his level, just slightly below, because they're able to, in a universe that has no Hex Tech, that doesn't have any of this stuff, all three of them work together to figure it out.
All those equations and stuff on the board.
Can't outdo the donger.
Meanwhile, Victor just teleports Jace to do the thing. He's like, I won't fail. I'll do this.
I'll kill you.
And so I feel like this episode was the weaker one for me, only because there was a lot of elements in it by the end. Initially, I rated it kind of low, and then as I went back, I said, the pacing issues here. You're putting a lot of time into this when we needed some other bits here and there. And I'm talking specifically about the J stuff. I actually did appreciate the Echo stuff, because for Echo to be so big in episodes 8 and 9, you need him to be developed. And this was the character development. This felt closest to Arcane Season 1, where it's like that stuff that we were kind of missing from Echo in Season 1, we got here in Season 2. So ultimately, I liked it. But I lowered my score over time to a 7 out of 10 upon seeing some of the other episodes.
I agree with that one. I'm going to go with the 7. I kind of wanted the Jay stuff to kind of be like a mystery. Like what he saw was just fucking crazy.
And then at the very end, flashbacks to what he saw.
Exactly.
Flashbacks.
I was like, oh, okay. And just keep everything
minutes.
with just Echo and Jinx. I did like that.
Yeah, I like this one. So, like, judging it in a vacuum, I liked it better. I already took away my points for the whole season, but I think that this one's like 8, maybe even a 9, because there's some really cool stuff happening
in episode 7.
Because I really
in the alternate universe stuff.
Because this is going back to this is slower stuff. This is what I liked about season 1, where we get to kind of explore the characters, see what their relationships.
Yeah, that's what I like.
It's like it was really, really good there. And my only issue with it is in terms of the whole season, which you guys know I lowered points already.
Okay, so episode 8, Killing is a Cycle. This is basically, Mel's fate is kind of revealed that she's a sister mage to LeBlanc's character. LeBlanc's talking to her. You've got this Black Rose stuff, and I'm like, okay, yeah, but and then she's like, you're gonna be the silver bullet and blah 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 to stop your mother and this and that. So she kind of plants that seed. You got the Black Rose LeBlanc stuff to start it off. Then Mbessa kind of allies with Victor. Now here I always upon reflection I was like, what the fuck? I get why Mbessa. No, I actually don't even know that part, because when she's allying with somebody who's clearly unstable and has these drones that are fucking invincible, essentially, what does she think is going to happen at the end? It doesn't make sense. Her plan does not make sense.
Yeah, I didn't really get this.
I don't understand why Victor needed her. Victor has fucking indestructible drones that all he needs to do is drone touch your face and you're done for. So I kind of didn't know what they needed from each other until I rewatched it. And I think it's more that Mbessa uses Singed in order to help Victor, because Victor, remember, got blasted by Jace. In a vulnerable state, they make a temporary alliance to continue to move forward with both of their plans. So they're being reckless. Obviously, they have different motivations, but Victor needed Singe to use his knowledge to repair him, put him in the cocoon, and make it to this other scene. But then later on, Victor kind of transforms himself, or maybe he just needed time with Singe's bits. So I think that's where that temporary alliance is. But again, a little weak on the motivation.
Yeah, because I just recently watched it right now, so I was like, wait, I don't really know what they benefit.
It's not clear.
Victor was dying. Victor was about to die. He was on the verge of death, and they're like, hey,
I'm right on that.
Okay. I can give you Warwick's blood, which is the only way that you live, but in order to do that, you give me my super weapon.
Yeah.
And then she's just hoping she can control him in some way.
Well, she's crazy.
She's dumb.
Yes.
They're not crazy. Okay, Caitlin and Vi, they talk about, the stuff, and they have the prison scene with Jinx, and so they have some heart-to-heart there. And then Jace and Mel have a scene, and I like this one a lot. This is like they're attacked by that Victor drone, and they realize the threat that Victor is posing here. And then also Mel makes her reveal that she's the one that has these powers, this Arcane. The title of the show has nothing to do with Jinx and Vi, but so anyways, and then eventually Vi goes to Jinx in that prison. She lets her out. Jinx swaps spots with her, locks her in, and that's when she makes this determination. She's kind of, I'm going to kill myself. I'm going to break the cycle. At first, she wants to break the cycle by killing herself. Second, she realizes through Echo, again, goated, he's really the only one doing all the good stuff in Act 3, convinces her not to kill herself, instead to be a hero once more, save her sister, and then Jinx says, I got to separate myself from my sister. This is just this vicious cycle. She's not going to give up on me. I've already given up on myself, so I'm going to let her be happy. Whether that's the right decision or not, it's up in the air, and maybe in future seasons they can explore that, or cameos they can explore that, but that's the implication. Then Jace's gives
then sexy scene.
Oh, we forgot the whole sexy scene. It wasn't that sexy. And I guess maybe they should have pushed it further, and Netflix shouldn't have slapped their hand, because it just was awkward. I was like, is that unfinished? Did they finish drawing here? Or they don't want to show a nipple? Again, I don't know what it is where you can't show nothing in this day and age, or the heat death of the universe will happen if a nipple pops out. I don't know. It was weird. And you shouldn't really be doing that when your sister's walking up. I'm gonna go kill myself.
It's also a filthy prison cell.
Maybe you want to. Okay, y'all are worried about that. You worry about the sister. That's true too, though.
Well, some people get hot over trauma.
That's true. Yeah.
My sister's gonna kill herself.
Have sex in a bathroom, so I guess it made those two hot.
Yeah.
Anyways, Jace gives a speech to get the cities to cooperate again. It didn't have the impact. No. And I was like, if I was the other city, I'd be like, nah, fuck y'all. Y'all are still going to oppress us. I'm not going to fucking fight for you. You fuck y'all.
Yeah, and wear this uniform too. I was like, nah, I don't want to.
I don't want that. Yeah, so it didn't quite work as well as it could have,
They're probably Hugo Boss uniforms, though.
And then Here's where Caitlin visits Vi in prison. They have sex. Mel talks to Mbessa, trying to stand down. So we have a moment between full-powered daughter and mother about to do something crazy. To do that, it doesn't. She's not able to talk her down. And then essentially Victor evolves. He says he's going to miss his talks with Sky in his head. And she goes, no, you won't. And it's true, because he's just on this path that is the wrong path. And he's lost his humanity is what he's saying. And as she dissipates, that's the end of his humanity. He's on this kick. So really good bits here. I like the bits here. And then am I missing any? Let me see if I'm missing any. Can y'all remember anything else?
No, I think that's about it. I think, but we even in the explanation, we rushed over the Zahn and Piltover, like last week, were ready to murder each other.
Yeah.
And them just immediately coming to their aid with, I mean, they're, even as tropism, we've seen this happen so many times where like these enemies come together to a greater evil. And almost every other time we've seen it recently, they've done it better than this.
Yes.
And it's just because we didn't have any scenes.
Yeah, and I'm actually surprised by the rating I put here, 7 out of 10, and I think it's because I didn't really believe that. I liked the scene with the drone attacking, but I felt like Victor's evolution was a little rushed into a villain. Didn't really resonate Victor's speech. And the cities, I didn't realize it till later, were kind of pushed in the background, and they have a small, tiny little resolution. At the very end, you see that one lady with the arm, she gets a position on the council, but people are still looking at her all weird.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so, and then this was the LeBlanc stuff at the beginning, and I'm like, nah. So, 7 out of 10.
Yeah, I agree. It's just not fleshed out. Like, I would challenge anyone who's like, no, I love this thing. Oh, cool. Tell me what the whole Black Rose thing's about. And you just don't know. And it's like, I played the game for tens of thousands of hours. Yeah. And it's like, they just run.
In fact, the culmination of that Black Rose storyline in here made no sense. The battle between them, where Mel just shows up, she gives her mother to LeBlanc. And LeBlanc is doing something. And then for no reason, Mel just comes in. And then what does Mel do? What happens there?
She goes in there, gets stabbed too with this little chain. And she goes,
what the fuck?
She breaks. I don't
Mel's
know.
into some kinky shit.
Yeah.
And she doesn't save her mom. And the mom still dies. Like, what the fuck did she do? I guess she saved herself.
Yeah.
Right? From the chains. Because did the chains ever go into Mel? No, the chains were going
in the
into...
back.
They stab her a little bit, yeah.
So I guess she was just saving herself.
Yeah.
And then trying to break her mother out, but it was too late for her mother.
You're going to have to fill in
This is episode 9. Okay, so now we're going to go into episode 9, the final episode. This one... is for me, because of the action, because of the big thing, and there were some moments,
cool moments,
very high. It's just that final jinx, because I didn't feel anything. I went from that 10 down to a 9. That's my rating. I'll just tell the rating up front. But let's go into it a little bit. So Jinx trying to kill herself at the beginning of the episode, but Echo is stopping her. I like that scene. That's really cool. Gives her hope. It feels like he wants to reference this person that he met, this other Jinx that was happy. It's sad. It's emotional, and I like it. And then they're prepping for battle. I like that moment. Vi is caring for that soldier that ends up dying, was a soldier from the Undercity. It's this huge battle. It's epic. It's awesome. I love the visuals. I love all the sequence of events, of fighting. And then we even get, Caitlin doing her sniper thing, but and Bessa looking badass, and boom, her runes are taken care of. Like, fuck, man, that would have been perfect. Sniper, we're good. Nope, she's wearing the runes. And that's set up for a good payoff later in this personal fight that they have, this duel. But anyways, and then we got that dude on the gun firing at various, critical targets. Motherfucker ends up dying, taking some arrows, and so we're having some
fucking
character
neck.
deaths here, but not like major character deaths. Like these guys just show up, they don't really do. It's nothing like major characters in season 1 that die that you're like, oh fuck, if that's my family. Here it's like,
Yeah, but you still see like the
guys.
casualties and everything. It's still pretty brutal.
it's brutal, and that's what I like. And
Yes.
then they use the gas. They use the gas to kind of make this plan to destroy Victor's egg metamorphosis wild rune container. And I thought that was really cool. And it really only fails because of a betrayer. There was a fucking mole amongst them all, and you can tell who it is. It was the blonde chick soldier who had relations with Caitlyn and
I like your warmth.
fucking homewrecker, right? Yeah, that was a really good scene. So it's like, man, there's moments where it's a 10 out of 10 because she's like, hey, I like your warmth. And then boom, she fires. Right then, Mel does this badass thing where she bubbles her up, boop, 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 shoots her, makes her shoot herself. It's like, mwah,
Yeah, I
chef's
thought
kiss.
she was gonna die.
Fuck out of here, homewrecker.
I
Yeah.
honestly did.
And I liked it. But anyways, eventually everybody's captured and arrested because, you know, that bitch messed with the grenade. So where she put a... In fact, you can even see in that, you know, she looks at it and she fucked with something. Put that nail in there. And so everyone's under arrest. They lost the fucking battle. It's like, fuck, man. Even the combined might of Piltover and a little bit of
All hope is
Rune.
lost.
And that's even before Victor's forces get involved. But anyways, at that moment, Mel comes out. I thought she was going to have forces of her own, but it's just her. And she comes out to confront her mother. And they do this thing where, you know, all the Noxians, because I guess they approve of direct challenges and battles. They kind of make an arena for the daughter to challenge her mother and shit. But before they could get started, Jinx shows up. So... whoop, we're going into 10 out of 10 territory for that. Jinx, you know, she brings her own forces. Echo on his, you know, flying board and more forces there from the Undercity. And it was great. All in the meanwhile, Victor confronts Jace. Victor's design is crazy. I like this design. In fact, I like this design better than the Victor that we see in League of Legends. Just more creative because his face fucking splits. And then from the face grows like this new bit. And I'm like, oh shit, that's wild. And they even do the little claw, which I didn't think they were going to do this. His little beam claw. One design I like less, I like Warwick less. Because I'm like, is this really even Warwick anymore? Like, I don't like the whole take on Warwick here. I do like the Warwick as Vander, but I don't just in like, is he
No, he's
dead?
not
And I have a theory he's not dead either because we've seen Jinx survive her own grenade. If Jinx can survive her own grenade, and you saw when she was firing at him with her Gatling gun, it was doing jack shit to him. So I don't
This
think
is
a little
super power grenade though. It had a hex node in it.
I don't think so. I think he could tank that as well. So maybe in the future we can get the Warwick we know more, you know, and yeah. All right, anyways, he gets knocked out of it. What else? So then as Victor's kind of confronting Jace's like one at a time trying to stop this, and then Victor does them all at once. It's like, how do you stop something like that? You can't.
It's like it's possible.
We get creative
then-
zero-G fights, just like from King Kong versus Godzilla or whatever movie. Remember when they all go zero-G? It was one of the recent Kong films.
Oh yeah, I hated it.
Yeah. Well, they go zero-G in this. And then Ambessa, Mel, and Caitlyn have that awesome fight in the that little arena. And Caitlyn basically wins the fight by taking a fucking, shot to the eye to take out Ambessa's runes. And then essentially
Now.
gives her up to the Black Rose lady. But then, so she does that. And then LeBlanc shows up to capture her or kill her off, and then Mel shows up in the vision, and then has a little saying with her, and then LeBlanc tries to get her too, and then she just glows gold and explodes, and then that's it. And then it just, I don't like that resolution.
Yeah.
And then Ambessa dies. I'm like, but she died from what?
She was probably
The
looked
little
like
claw, the little chain.
Yeah, I think that she was trying to save her mom from something else. So like it looks like she's extracting something from her ear, and so like maybe she's trying to prevent LeBlanc from getting information that she shouldn't, or doing something worse than death. And she's just
I'll have to rewatch it because like that little thing didn't make sense to me. Like giving her up only to go in and explode.
That changed my mind.
Where her mom is still dead. I don't understand.
She's too late.
Need more time.
It was a little odd. And then Vi and Jinx, meanwhile, versus an upgraded Warwick, is doing the fight in 0G and stuff. And yeah, but eventually those drones show up, and everybody loses because all they need to do is get close enough to you, touch your face, and you go.
Make you look up.
Yeah.
You get an inherent. You lose all free will, and but luckily, one person who has not been touched yet is Echo. Boom. Echo shows up. Oh, meanwhile, Jace fails in his attempt to kind of convince and stop Victor. But luckily, Echo shows up to stop him. Again, goated this whole
Then gets
fucking
laid the fuck out.
Yeah, boom. And I was like, oh, it was like all this spit coming up. But he rewinds time. And then he rewinds time, and he's still losing.
He kind of got
like,
lucky, though, because he got clothesline. He probably would have got knocked out. There's no way he
if
could have been
that
able to
Z
pull
drive
that.
got thrown, it'd have been all over with. But he held on to it, and then he goes back. I think the furthest he's ever gone back, which it's not explained because I think it was like 8 seconds, but he said you can only go 4 seconds. So how'd you do that? Just through
He
sheer
turned-
force
no,
of
Only
will?
the Yordle exploded when he went back more than
Because
that.
he turned a knob. That's it.
Yeah.
It was
Okay,
like,
maybe
well,
his
this
body can take more than the Yordle body. So he goes back 8 seconds, and then he essentially is able to throw his Z drive with, the hex core technology,
To
blows
Victor.
up into Victor's face, which then kind of snaps him out of his bullshit
Yeah.
metamorphosis and makes him realize, okay, what the fuck? So you could talk temporarily with me for a few seconds. And that's when...
It's like, oh, this is bad.
Yeah, this is bad.
I'ma stop.
Knocks him out of his trance. And he's talking with Jace. He's like, why are you persisting after everything I've done? And Jace is like, hey, man, we'll do this together. And I don't know. Are these two guys gay? Are they friends? Like,
They're
is
still-
it implied that it's a relationship? You don't think so?
No.
Okay, because
Victor was
he's
into Sky, and Jace was literally
puts
physically
head to
inside of
head.
Mel. So
we'll do this together. They hold hands. That's a damn good friend then, because he's gonna kill himself. They both, we'll do this together essentially, and they fucking explode. Now, did they die? We don't know. They could have
They're in
just
another dimension or
teleported to
something.
another
they
dimension.
respawn.
Yeah, and they go back to the gate or whatever towers. Okay, so that's resolved. That Victor kind of realizes he's wrong. We see that the mage at the beginning was Victor promising, and then Jace promises to him that he'll stop it. He's like, you're the only one that can show me the error of my ways, while he shows Victor, and he's like, oh shit. Okay. And then he realizes why. Well, every equation was solved. All that remained were fields of dreamless solitude. There's no prize to perfection, only an end to pursuit. And he realized, well, I did what I wanted to do, but it kind of sucks. So let's not do it like this. And in all universes, everybody else failed except for Jace. You were the one that succeeded. I'm like, bitch, he didn't succeed. It was Echo. If you didn't have Echo, this Jace would have lost too if it wasn't for.
But he gave
for
him the
Echo.
rock.
We gave him the
Every
rock.
time.
Didn't matter. Because you still would have lost. But anyways, Echo. Okay, that's it. They hold hands, they lock heads, and then they disappear. And then all the drones are powered off. Everyone is let go. Unfortunately, because Vi and Jinx and Warwick were fighting in zero gravity, they all fall. And they fall on ledges, and then that's when the dumb thing happens that I described before. Like, no, why are you acting this way, V, so that Jinx can do the sacrificial lamb thing? But again, I've already explained how I believe that she's still alive.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Caitlin's looking
Gotta
at those tubes. There's vents. She suspects Jinx escaped. Warwick may have survived too. The grenade wasn't enough to kill him. We've seen Jinx survive a grenade before. The series ends with that white airship, which Powder says she's going to ride one and fly one day, and she does. And then And then there's the names of those who've died, and then we see the council. It's a new council with Zon people on it. And then, we see a brief clip of Oriana alive. This is Singe's daughter. So Singe gets what he wants. So he worked hard and basically did the bidding of others while using his brains. He got his daughter
He wasn't
back.
He split farmed the entire game and won, which is that's Singe
That's
101.
Singe 101.
Yeah.
He got what he wanted. He gets a happy ending, and they talk about worth fighting for was the line, and he and then the crow finds the hex tech. It's like pecking. It probably takes one of these.
I think it's a
balls
raven because Swain
to-
has ravens and Fiddlesticks has crows.
Fiddlesticks has crows.
I like corvids, bro.
Maybe. It's a three-eyed raven. Okay, we'll see. Vi and Caitlin are clearly in the building. They're not in the airship. So initially I thought they were in the airship, but then when I looked at all these theories and looked back in the building, no, they're in the building while she's doing. And then she's like, Vi is humming a tune. Caitlin comes over, and I forget what do they say here. How do they end?
Yeah, she's like, "Hey, are you singing?" She's like, "No, it's just something that my mom." Sang.
mom,
He's
yeah.
like, "Hey, is your head in the game? I need, And she's like, "I'm not going anywhere."
Yeah, because there's
dirt under
there's
your
implying there's
nails.
more to be done. There's battles in the future. Swain and Noxus and stuff. They'll fight there or something. Anyways, Jinx flies away in an airship away for her sister's sake. She wants to stay out of their life. Don't fuck my life up too, because you're Jinx. The end, and Jinx font implies that Jinx is still alive. So ultimately, I really like this episode, and it brought greater context to the previous episodes. But then when I see how it ended, and I was like, okay, so these are the 3 episodes. We needed more time for various things. For Victor, the whole idea that it shifts from these 2 cities to this fucking hex tech, galactic thing is a lot to
what?
swallow. So
Well, it's also a multiverse
What?
and time travel.
Yeah.
It's just like,
it's pretty
That's a
big.
lot.
I like that
That's
they're
a
trying to
lot,
make it bigger,
though.
better, more badass, but sometimes when you do that, it works a little less. Forgot to mention Silco appears to Jinx at some point.
Yeah.
Kind of gives her the motivation to break the cycle. But yeah.
You're gonna keep killing.
Like I said, the battle with the emotionless Warwick / Vander, I wasn't investing in that battle. They've already had the fight. We redo that fight where he's not even in there anymore. So it was like,
and then you also present him as indestructible. It kind of takes some of the tension away, where it's like, okay, well, they're not going to win, so.
Yeah.
and let's see. So,
So Singe wins League of Legends.
yeah.
It's crazy.
Jinx sacrifice is a little less emotional than Isha's, likely due to repetition. But so a little less personal stakes in the battle, unless you really liked Jace and Victor's kind of storyline, because that ends satisfyingly. Jace learns to kind of love his friend again, and Victor realizes, oh, fuck, I was wrong. Humanity should be given free will, and we're messy, and people deserve forgiveness.
That's what makes us us.
And he
Messy.
even he deserves forgiveness.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Jinx walks away. Yep. But anyways,
In
overall
theory.
great.
Maybe she could just be dead.
Maybe.
She's splat on the ground. You don't know.
No, she's not. Anyways,
It's
so
up to
this to
you.
me, initially 10 out of 10 for me on this last episode, kind of resolving things. But I think it went down to a 9 when I give it some thought, when I
Yeah.
think about the true resolution and kind of shifting focus from where season 1 was. You kind of have to do that when you make something bigger and bigger, conflicts between cities, conflicts between big ideas of free will versus no free will and forgiveness and stuff. So it's just a little unfocused, but ultimately I think by the end they still managed to stick the landing, just not as perfection as I was hoping.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm going to go with the 9 as well, because I did like the battle. It was pretty fucking sweet. The animation's still great. But for me, I honestly think like it should have ended when everyone's like at their final moments, looking up, and then end there. Add another one, flesh some stuff out with Mel and the mom stuff, make sense a little bit more of that, what was really going on, and some more, I guess, Vic and Jace. So one more episode would have helped it.
Yeah. I think I'm gonna go. I think I'll go with a 9. I'm gonna round up to a 9. I think that the action was really satisfying. It was really interesting seeing some of the things. A lot of it is me filling in the blanks that they had, and like hoping that, you know, I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt. And it's like, hey, it would have been really cool if you'd fleshed out some of these things. Yeah. But still was satisfied with the final episode. Just wanted another one or two.
Yeah, I get real. This is one that it gets enriching upon rewatches, and that to me is a good ass show. So overall, we really liked it. Those are the individual ratings, and like I said, when I look at Arcane as a whole, I look at both seasons now as one thing. It's a 10 out of 10 for me. Ultimately, yeah, season 2 is a little more, but it brings it all up when you look at the entirety for me. I think it's one of the best animated video game adaptations of all time. It's just one of the better shows that you can even have on Netflix. You can see the money on screen. Yes, it was expensive, but yes, I think it was worth it. League of Legends lore is all over the fucking place, man, and this gave you a window into the world that made sense. And if you think, oh shit, all this kind of relatively made sense, yeah, they were going a little crazy with Wild Runes and Arcane. But if you watch videos, and I have now because I was enjoying this so much, I watched lore videos on fucking League of Legends.
Barely scratched the surface.
This thing spans fucking, thousands of years with fucking, avatars and champions and this city and that city and this civilization crumbles and another thing rises. It's fun. And then the powers, it's just so wild. It's like, how do you even make anything coherent out of this? And they managed to. So that, for me, 10 out of 10. All right. Well, anything else?
No, thank you.
Okay, guys, thank y'all so much for watching. Leave your opinions down below. Let us know what you thought of Arcane in Season 2, Act 3, and on the greater whole. Thank you so much, and we will see you guys on the next Angry Joe Show. Bye, guys.